Hi.
Hi.
I want to make sure. I want to make sure I got our conscious conversation in. Well, my anxiety is up because a lot of the conversations we've been doing is when I am not actually present in the anxiety, and it's not as high as it was about an hour ago. But um, I just wanted to make sure because I feel like it's important that it's real for other people listening. And so I came to the office. I have several things on my list of to-dos, and one is to process the SEC fundraiser that we did, and I did not get it to balance. I'm out $3. I have no idea. I'm out six. I'm out an order of $6. Have no idea. So I just ordered something random, and when I figure it out, that person, if they don't get what they asked for, I don't know. We'll deal with it then. So that was anxious because I wanted to get that done, and then I knew that I wanted to. It's 2 days before my first flight of my travel schedule for April was to begin, and I wanted to make sure that they're canceled. And every time I had tried before, it kept saying, you can't until 72 hours before, and
Right.
so I had just put it on the back burner. And so again, I approached it again, and things keep changing, right? It kind of also was a reminder. I got a call from the Coastal Mountain Air, I think it's called, Coast Mountain Air,
Mm-hmm.
and to call and automatically canceled one of my flights and gave me a credit. So anyway, I got on the phone and started doing that, and all the anxiety that comes up with me in me, it's like right here, like in my chest, and it's like what is this about? And so if I let me just look and see what the emotional chart, because it's like anxious is how it feels, but what is anxiety? What is my anxiety? Kind of like panicked, I guess, which is fear. I don't know what I'm afraid of, but I just feel panicked. And yeah, mostly it's got in the fear categories for sure. Jumpy, um, and just like, worried and worried. There's a lot of money, I guess, tied up in all the different flights. If you figure 9 times approximately $250, it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and all of them, so as I'm going through the different ones, and some I get through on a call, and some they, it's on the computer, and then they tell you to call, and oh, oh. So I just wanted to really be present to that feeling. And when I was talking to Paul, my son, he was talking about how he was feeling anxious last week on Monday, so a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, Monday, or whatever it is now, when he was leaving work. And it was like, oh, like, I guess I'm leaving work for the last time. And kind of like the anxiety in him came up because it's like this change has been thrown upon us. And I'm still, and many of us are still in this place of tidying up and figuring out how we're going to navigate through that. And my husband Blake sent me a picture, and he's stayed in the house mostly, and he is really prone to anxiety way more than I am, way more. And like a fidgety, I'm just like, I keep doing that.
Oh, good. Shake it off.
What dogs do, right? um, he sent me a picture of all the tape on the sidewalk. He went to the pharmacy to pick up some of his meds, and he sent me a picture of people in front of him and these tape lines, and how that, I know that just brought up anxiety in him, all to get to his spot in line for him to be the next person, for them to say, oh, you called the order in at another pharmacy, you've got to go there. And he's like, oh, um, yeah. And then, so I'm cleaning up. So I got all that done at the office. I finally put my travel stuff to bed. There's nothing more I can do. I keep looking at the spreadsheet. And I guess, the fact that I couldn't get our fundraiser to balance, I'm looking at the spreadsheet of the fundraiser, like I must have done it 6 times. And I started from scratch each time. And I went through each sheet. Like the money's fine, but it's the actual order. And it's like, what am I going to do when the order comes in and somebody's missing the bulbs that they ordered? It's not like I can just go, oh, well, here's an extra one. It's like, so honestly, I went over it 6 times. I cannot find the error. Cannot find the error. So, and I did it on the sheet. I then did it on a separate sheet. I did it online, and I went over the order sheets like, oh, so when it came to my travel, I've got a spreadsheet. And you and I counting money last night for the center and all the not getting it right for that either. And then so looking at all my travel, and before all this stuff happened, like I made a travel error, and I was scheduling a bunch of travel in the fall, and I scheduled a travel home from Toronto to Vancouver with the wrong date. And I didn't notice it until 3 months later that I had actually scheduled this flight for the wrong date, like the wrong date by about 2 weeks. Useless. It's a totally useless flight with no cancellation insurance or anything. Anyway, be it that it lands in January, I'll probably be able to get a credit for it, whereas it's going to lose the money before. So knowing I'm making these kinds of mistakes, like that was an expensive mistake. That was a $300 mistake. And here I am now, I've created this spreadsheet so I can wrap my head around, and I'm checking it over and I'm checking it over. And then I'm at the office and I'm reading emails that are coming in, and it's like, I need to be doing more. I'm not doing enough for the community. I need to be promoting. I need to be sending out more emails. I need to be creating ads. I need to be, like, I'm not doing enough. Like, how are people, there was only 8 people who watched our Sunday evening program last night. We have more people in our community. Why weren't they watching? Because they didn't know about it. I forgot to advertise. Oh my God, like this is what's, I gotta talk to Collette. There's no way we can't work together. I gotta get her to come in. How am I gonna take off? We gotta.
I think it's funny because we just had this conversation last night about how our minds do that. How we have an inner dialogue, an inner roommate living in our minds that is like narrating our existence. And why, like, what's the point of that? Why can't I just observe, like, oh, look at this dog coming down the street. What a neat looking dog. I wonder what kind of dog it is. Like, why do I have to have this narration playing out through on top of my observing, you know? So we have this inner narration, and some would say that it is a trying to live inside of our minds, trying to reside inside of our minds for some semblance of control, right? That whole inner dialogue, monkey mind, going through it all and sorting through the ifs and the ands and the buts and the multiple directions and whatever, is our way of grabbing onto some control, because we can like be in there and make up all sorts of things that make us feel better or worse or otherwise. And the truth is, we're not in control of any of it, right? What happens when somebody realizes that they didn't put on their paper the particular bulb they want, and at the end of April they get to pick something else, or like they get the thing that you randomly ordered, or they realize they just gave too much money. Like, really, like, we can't know that for them. We don't even know who it is at this point, right?
I have no idea.
And, you know, and then so mixed in with that, our tendency to feel like we have to do better. Like, we've mixed in this narration of making stuff up to try and grasp control, and we've mixed it with you know, the fact that we're not good enough as our deepest belief, right? Like, it's
not doing enough.
Yeah, such a, you know, funny and messy and
It's messy. It's like so messy. And then I look at today, like mostly I'm pretty okay. I've been pacing through each day and it's all good. I came into the office to, this morning to get the FEC fundraiser order in and to finish writing my article. I just looked at the clock. It's 2:56 and I'm still here. And I've yet to go to the bank. When I did look at going to the bank earlier, and it was hailing out. I'm like, I'm not going in the hail. I'll wait 20 minutes. Oh, Lordy. Even Paul says, my son, his 3.5-year-old daughter, everyone's at home full time, right? And she's asking for play dates with all her little friends. And he says, even she goes, is it because the COVID-19? Like, he's like, that's more than a 3.5-year-old should be knowing about or talking about, right? And he's like, yeah, the only reason we can tell her, no, honey, because of COVID-19, we have to stay, keep socially distant, because it's like, why all of a sudden to a 3.5-year-old when visiting with your friends and being with people and family was all normal, and all of a sudden there's nobody around. It's like,
totally.
Except to tell them, he's like, where's the parent guide on this one? Except the truth, right? You just don't need to dramatize it, but yeah,
totally.
So curious. How are you today? I didn't even ask.
I'm good. Okay. I'm calm. I'm noticing the shifts in, that are happening subtly, or that are happening within me, the shifts and the growth and the changing as I experience this new world. And I'm interested to see how that reflects or ripples outward, not necessarily ripples like from my shift, but if I'm going through this and noticing these pieces of myself, then I can be sure that other people are also going through their own shifts and growths and changes. And so I've just been reflecting on that today, and and it kind of ties into our conversation with your experience, because like, what is it like just to be able to observe this stuff, just to be able to witness it and observe it without attachment, without figuring it out, and without cleaning up, and without changing anything, and without forcing anything, but just noticing.
And I like that, and I want to make sure that I give voice to. I was having a chat with one of our members this last week, and like, so while we're talking, I'm feeling the anxiety and the restlessness in me, and it's like, I got some pens and I need to put that over there, and I want to make sure these ones come home, and I got to remember, like, this is what's going through my head. Oh yeah, and I got the jug of water the plants before I leave. And so you're talking, and this is what I'm doing. And so what I shared with her is, I'm a real tactile, like, movement is really, like, if I was a kid today, they would have labeled me ADHD, I'm sure, because that's what they do in schools, is they slap a label onto the kids that don't sit still. And like, that's why I have a ball that I sit on in my office, right? It's like, and giving myself permission, like, I remember, if that feels good, then that's okay. Like, everyone's so different. And there's no right or wrong way. There's no script. There's no, if I meditate and I can only meditate 10 minutes in a row today, and I need to get up, and then I go back to meditating and I do 10 minutes again. And if that's all I do today, that's okay. Because sometimes I can do 30 and sometimes I can do an hour, and that's okay. So I guess my noticing that I want to give language to is to make sure that each and every person knows that they're okay in the being, in the way that they are, and just noticing, right? Like, oh, I really need to move right now. Okay, well, I'm going to give my self space to do that.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, is just
Yeah.
observing whatever it is, right? I'm saying for me, it's my own shifts and happenings and thoughts and changes and feelings and whatever comes up, like through the day. And just being able to see that, objectively looking at it, going, like, oh, that's how I feel right now, but not making a big story about it, and not
Right.
having to change anything, and not having to force, and
Yeah.
not having to be different, just being. And I feel like I'm in that place today, and so I'm really calm.
Nice. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're calm, because I'm
It's a good thing we take turns with this sort of thing.
totally. And I think that, there's the wise, I was listening to a little bit of Russell Brand, and he's doing these daily live recordings. And he says, yeah, I'm a little crotchety with the misses today, like, and just knowing that about ourselves, like knowing that I'm in this. I know to be around Blake right now is not good for Blake, to give some distance. And whether it be like, if he's inside, I'll just go garden, I'll just go for a bike ride, I'll just take the dogs for a walk, or and just be really mindful that I know when I'm around highly sensitive people and I'm like this, it's really hard for them to take me because of their high sensitivity. They can't help but to start absorbing this anxious energy of mine, right? So I'm very mindful in that way. Although, I was reading about the 3 main types of, was that called? When we're a baby, of emotional connection, attachment, yeah. And so what I feel is my attachment is disattachment, or whatever it's called.
Avoidance, I think.
Avoidance attachment style, which means that I've learned to self-regulate my emotions. And so it's interesting, because when I am like this, I go to self-regulation, and which is isolating and getting myself to a place of calm before I reintegrate. And I've learned to do that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I've learned to do that because of my childhood, because I was not able to regulate with my parents, who were my, main source of emotional stability, that I couldn't emotionally regulate with them because they weren't aware. They just weren't aware enough to offer me that solace that I needed in any given situation. And so I noticed my need to just go, I'm out of here. When the stress goes up, I leave. Let me just deal with this. I'll be back. Right now, I need to regulate. I really noticed that in myself, for sure.
I guess the point is, in the noticing, is that we're like, just to know and own and be okay with the fact that we're just on, this is the part of us that's on the human journey. That there isn't a right way and a wrong way in any way. There's just me being human on my journey, and you being human in your journey. And the part of us that is going through that is learning about being a human. Right?
Yeah, totally. So grateful for the people in my life that I can practice, other ways of being. So noticing that I want to self-regulate, I can call you up, or, my dear Dr. Deborah Gordon, I can call her up, or lots of people that I can practice doing it differently and develop other modes of dealing with my anxiety when it comes to the surface.
Mhm. And what's the truth of who we are?
Oh, we're always perfect, whole, and complete. Nothing wrong with me. I'm already whole. And the human journey is wrapped in emotion anyway. That's why we're here. So can't get rid of some of the emotions and not get rid of all of them.
Mhm. Apparently, we're designed to feel.
Yeah. Well, then I get to know equally. So if I'm panicked in fear, then the other side of that for me is ecstatic and joy coming.
Right.
Okay.
Which is totally who you are.
Aw, thanks. That's what I like to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all have our favorite feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
really, let's be in relationship with all of them.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed, agreed. You're
Yeah,
so wise.
you're so wise. We all have it. It's in us all.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with me today, listening to
Mhm.
me mostly.
Yes, lots of listening. Hey, you know what? It's a part of the work, right? When we're in relationship to each other, sometimes the ear or 1,000 ways to listen is the best for me in the moment.
Yay.
Yay. And I think it's a very relative conversation because
I
everybody's going through it.
you. That's why I wanted to call you while I was feeling this way. Love you.
Thanks.